Almost 20 years after being ousted by a US-led military coalition, the Taliban have taken control of Afghanistan and they now control over all key cities in the country, including Kabul and Panjshir, the last provincial capital which was not under the Taliban's control for days after the capture. It was in Panjshir that the former Afghanistan Vice President Amrullah Shah sought shelter and requested UN and the international community help with the vow that they would continue fighting the Taliban. The Afghanistan took some areas from the government by force. In other areas, the Afghan National Army withdrew without a shot being fired. Although renewed clashes have been going on for several weeks, from 6th of August, the Taliban made a more rapid advance across the country. Now, the question arises as to why the Afghanistan security forces collapsed so soon. The simplest reason could be corruption. The US and the NATO allies spent billions of dollars over the 2 decades to train and equip Afghanistan security forces, but the Western-backed government was rife with corruption. Commanders exaggerated the number of soldiers to refund off resources, and troops in the field often lacked ammunition, supplies, or even food. Their morale further eroded when it became clear that the US was on its way out. As the Taliban rapidly advanced in recent days, the entire unit surrendered after a brief battle, and Kabul and some nearby provinces fell without a fight. Secondly, what lies ahead for Afghanistan comes into the picture. For sure, there have been an unrest in Afghanistan's soul since the capture. The scene of the Afghanistan airport on the day of the capture shows the people's desperation to leave the land for a better future. Many have also shown concerns for the humanitarian crisis prevailing in the country, especially of the women and children. Though the Taliban government had promised a country of peace, order and amnesty, doubts and fear persist among the people, with many unable to resettle and still trapped in Afghanistan. While many countries have also shown empathy and allowed refugees, some Afghanistan neighbors have closed their borders to people trying to flee via road. The US have also fallen under the self-criticism for the massive pullout, with some even comparing it to the fall of the Saigon in 1975. President Joe Biden defended his move by stating that it was the right decision and there never have been a better time. Afghanistan troops cannot and should not be fighting and dying in a war the Afghanistan forces are not willing to fight for themselves, are his statements. Amidst the various political backlashes he had been facing over the turmoil in Kabul, the suicide attack, which came on 26th of August afternoon while the US evacuation was on, did not help. The attack nearly killed 60 Afghans and 13 US service members, thus making the president's decision condemnable. Here, we also need to consider what the rebirth of the Taliban is going to mean for India and the rest of the world. In the short term, the fallout probably won't be huge. Even though India's border on the map extends to Afghanistan, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in fact lies in between the two countries, which will provide something of a geographical cushion. In recent years, Pakistan has also scaled back cross-border infiltration by the terrorist groups, not because of Afghanistan, but because it fears war, which its economy is ill-poised to face. As long as Pakistan keeps the Hijadi trap shut, things in Kashmir will remain stable. The future, though, isn't quite so certain. First, successive United Nations reports have said groups like the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba are operating alongside the Taliban. In the future, these groups could expand their training facilities and bases in Afghanistan, expanding their lethality and reach. The Taliban, despite promises, also continues to harbor Al-Qaeda. Its main fighting arm, the Haqqani network, has close links with the wing of the Islamic State, which has trained Indian nationals and even used them for suicide attacks. Finally, the trump of the Taliban will inspire jihadis across the region, just as the Mujahideen victory against the Soviet Union did a generation ago. The Taliban rise could also mean destabilization of the region, as the Taliban's fighting forces in northern Afghanistan include Uzbek and Tajik nationals who have been involved in Islamic insurgencies in Central Asia. The Taliban has ties to Hijazis from Xinjiang in China. It also includes within its rank large number of jihadis with viciously anti-Sikh belief. To make things worse, the Taliban has close links with narcotic traffickers and other criminal cartels. Even Pakistan has reason to worry. The Taliban has close ties to the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, which has waged a bitter insurgency against Pakistan and continues to stage terrorist attacks in Pakistan. The TTP has also targeted Chinese interests in Pakistan. Islamabad has been Taliban's patron-in-chief, but now the Taliban has got what it wants. It will likely try to leverage its links with the TTP to gain more decision-making authority. The regional powers, Iran, Russia, China, and Pakistan, embrace ban with the common goal of evicting the United States from the region and securing their interests. How long this alliance will sustain itself, though, is anyone's guess. Lastly, with the Taliban announcing the formation of a new Afghanistan government headed by Mullah Shahan Akhund while inviting many country leaders such as Russia, China, Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, and Qatar, one can only wait and watch the Taliban's governance approach.